Every year, 2,000 million people are losing their home and finding for better places to live. Hello everyone, I'm Dohun Lee, and today I'm gonna talk about one of the most serious social problems, climate justice. As global warming is getting worse, the environment inequality problem is coming up to the surface as well. And this is where climate justice comes out. Climate justice is necessary to solve the environment inequality problem. Like I said before, global warming brought out several millions of climate refugees, and I think that we should no longer look on them. The contents of my presentation is about introducing climate justice, looking climate justice in the viewpoint of the basic principles of justice, and about things we should do from now on. So what is climate justice? Before I begin in earnest of the explanation, let's look at this point. Let's think of the countries that got the most intense damage caused by climate change. Some of you would think of countries in the Pacific Ocean like Tuvalu and Maldives. These countries are sinking because of the sea level rise, and this sea level rise was caused by global warming. Some would think of agricultural areas in South Asia. They get damaged when super typhoon and flood hits them hard. And then we can find the common ground of these areas. In fact, they are all undeveloped countries. This chart shows the 16 countries that has the most vulnerability from climate change. Looking at this chart, we can recognize that our common thoughts are no longer just thoughts. On the other side, the countries that emit the most carbon dioxide, in other words, contribute to the majority of climate change, gets less damage relatively to the undeveloped countries. Don't you think that this is a wrong situation? Why should the people in undeveloped countries suffer because of the things they didn't even do? And the problem is that the polarization between two groups of countries is accelerating as the developed countries are getting more developed and the undeveloped countries are losing their chance to get developed because of the catastrophes caused by natural disasters. There are three principles in justice. It is liberalism of John Rawls that promotes freedom, utilitarianism of Jeremy Bentham that promotes happiness, and lastly, virtue that the virtue and justice of Aristotle. To be more exact, liberalism is a political idea that recognizes the dignity of an individual's character and tries to guarantee the freedom of an individual's economic and social activities to the extent that it does not harm others. In liberalism, human rights is the most important standard in morality. In this current situation, the people living in the undeveloped countries are suffering damage, losing their home because of the developed countries. And this is violating the right to live, which is one of the fundamental human rights. Therefore, as an aspect of liberalism, climate inequality is against justice. Happiness. Utilitarianism is an idea that regards happiness as the only standard of morality. This idea promotes the greatest happiness of the greatest number. Which matters more, the loss of financial benefits from stop operating factories and the damage of humans' lives? Of course, humans' lives matter more. So when we choose the former one, the happiness from the developed countries decrease a little, but the happiness of the undeveloped countries increase a lot. So we can say that promoting climate justice is right according to utilitarianism. Virtue. A virtue is an excellent trait of character that has high relationships with common good. So since the environment inequality is against common good, it is also against the virtue people should have. So far, we viewed climate justice in the aspects of liberalism, utilitarianism, and virtue, and found out environmental inequality is against justice. This implies that this problem is serious and it must be solved. And then, what are the things we could do to promote climate justice? First of all, the government should make long-term climate policies. I did lots of research of the climate policies all around the world, and I found that the majority of the policies are just performative policies that last short terms. To solve abnormal climate problem, I think that every country should make long-term climate policies at least for the next 50 years. Secondly, we should make every country compensate for the damages occurred by climate change, according to the carbon dioxide emission rate. As we can see from this graph, China emits 28% of the total carbon dioxide. Then China has to compensate for the 28% damage caused by climate inequality. So I think that every country should be responsible for the climate change they are occurring. Thirdly, legislating international laws related to the climate change so that the countries should participate more in keeping the climate normal. There is already an organization called WMO. However, it isn't compulsory, so no country is keeping the suggested carbon dioxide emission rate. So I think that we should make international laws to make the countries keep the agreed pollution standard. And before I finish, I will end my speech by introducing one of the best quotes. No country alone can protect its people from the impacts of climate change. Like this quote, I think that it is a time for humanity to stand together and cooperate to prevent no more climate change and furthermore promote climate justice. Thank you for listening to my speech.